Hey, hi, hello, friend. So today we continue our conversation with Cristina Van Epps. We continue the conversation around the sex of it all and how RPGs are a way to play as a version of ourselves, even in the kink space. And we circled back to the tease I made at the beginning of the conversation around asexual people and how they come to and interact with sex. So without further ado, here's part 2. Welcome to Season 7 of the Queer Consciousness Podcast. I'm Kit Sargent, and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Jess Grace Garcia, and my pronouns are they, them. We're just humans wanting to share the lived experience of other humans.
This season, we're talking about all things sex. We want to have deep, heart-led conversations as we unpack what sex means to us and why it's so important to talk about it.
This is a season of unlearning, relearning, and sharing about a topic that is still considered taboo.
Because at the end of the day, we are all spiritual, sexual beings having a human experience, walking each other home. And that's the thing, is that there are so many times where that's exactly what they think. They're like, this is my lived experience, therefore this is the only lived experience, therefore this is how the world works, because they feel that the world revolves around their own identity, their own understanding, and everything outside of that is technically incorrect. It's like,
or they can't conceive of the idea of other people having a different experience of life.
Yes.
Because we are all very similar in a lot of ways. Like, biologically speaking, all human beings are basically the same, with small variations in 5% of DNA or whatever the thing is. There's a statistic where we share 80% of the same DNA with bananas. So we fundamentally, biologically speaking, all humans are incredibly similar. And so it is difficult, especially also when you're around people who most of the time are looking and acting and behaving just like you. It's very strange to think that they could be having such fundamentally different perceptions of how the world works and what the world is like and what the human experience is like.
Yep.
And so that can be to give grace to a lot of people, that can be a jarring realization where it's like, oh, we are not in fact all the same. All of these people who I assumed were very similar to me, even within the same household, even within the same core family group, can be having such different fundamental concepts of how everything works and why everyone's doing what they're doing. And then the second that comes against conflict, the second that it's oh, hey, here's signs that I think very differently than you. And in fact, your entire perception of your bedrock for how the world works is in fact not as solid as you thought it was. That can be really distressing for a lot of people. And especially
which is something I don't relate to. I do not relate to people who feel that way, because my world was both of my parents' worlds were so different that it immediately, my world was diverse as hell. And so I just understood that it's almost I think about the way that we build and have had to redo foundations in California because of earthquakes. The fact that buildings are on rollers, that's the way I was born. I was born on rollers.
You were built in San Francisco after the Great Quake.
Yes.
And so, yes.
Yes. And that is the best way to describe, because the minute that I feel like something is too firm, too solidified, too same, I get uncomfortable. I actually get uncomfortable when I'm too comfortable. So it's a very weird, it's okay, comfort to me is being around different voices, being around people that have different experiences and getting all of that input. Discomfort is being around sameness and people who are on, even if I'm in a queer space where we all think very similar, I'm okay, where's the other perspective?
Right.
I still want the other perspective, even if I vehemently disagree with them, I can still offer some, like you said, some grace. I can still offer some hey, actually, I don't mind building the bridge 80% of the way if you're willing to come 20%. I want to understand where you're coming from. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your story. And that, I think that comes a lot from just that curious nature and the fact that I understood there were other perspectives from an early age. But it's fun to kind of have that image now of being on rollers That's the way I was built.
Which is the exact opposite of how I was built.
Where you just had
And yet
like
here we
a
are.
firm idea of everything. That's true.
No.
And yet,
And I was born with an insatiably curious mind where I wanted to know all of the things. I'm still that way. I was born into a family who was the same. Everyone was the same. So like, if you got around people who were different from you, it was you turn the children away and you push them away and say, no, that's not for you. You don't get to know that. I distinctly remember in 5th grade, we had a black family transfer into our school, and they were the only black family.
Oh, that must have been hard on them.
In the entire school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a girl the girl was in my grade, and the boy was 2 grades older. So I was in 5th, he was in 7th. And so first of all, absolutely gorgeous. Fantastic. I was like, wow, she's so pretty. And she was fast as hell. And up until that point, I had been the fastest kid in school. And then she shows up and she's faster than me.
Now new rival is here for the throne.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. No, she was not a rival. She was I'm like, I will chase her to the ends of the earth because she is absolutely gorgeous and she intrigues me to no end. So wasn't a rival.
I knew that was it.
But I was like, oh, can I just chase you all the time? Because 1, you're going to make me better as a sprinter because you're faster than I am. And I just want to get as close to you as I possibly can. And 2, can we be friends because you're so pretty? So that was for me one of those pivotal moments where I was like, why is everyone treating her differently? And it was because of the fact that she was the only black kid in school. And then we had another kid who was in my grade who had been with me since pre-K, and he was Chinese, but he was adopted. So he was very white in his upbringing. So even though he did not look the same as the rest of us, he was accepted.
He acted the way everyone else did.
He behaved the same. Yeah.
Correct. And so when you have that where it's like, no, everyone has to be the same. For me, for the longest time, anytime anything was different, that was the discomfort. Because I'm like, I don't know if I like this. This is weird. It wasn't until I actively started to figure out that I was queer, and then I actually came out, and then I deconstructed literally my entire existence to where I was like, oh, no, I don't like sameness. Cookie cutters are bad.
Yeah.
Cookie cutters are boring. Just because the frosting is different doesn't mean that the actual shape is different. Every single snowman still looks like a freaking snowman because they're all the same. One of them might have 2 buttons. One of them might have 3. One of them is going to have an orange nose versus a red nose. It doesn't matter. They're all the same cookie cutter snowmen.
And then you get the ninjas.
Right. I want a freaking ninja.
We had ninjas in our Christmas cookies this year.
That's awesome. I love that.
And I was like, ninjas. Of course.
Of course. Have to have ninjas. Have to. Because ninjas are the best. But that's the thing is I'm like, I want diversity. I want different voices. I want to be able to hear an entirely different lived perspective because what does that teach me about myself?
Yeah.
And to bring in the sex of it all, having...
Oh, wait. Let me pause you. I was just going to say that for me, that's why when I was 12, I moved to the East Coast and everyone was the same. That was so drastic. But I was 12, so I was in a good place to keep my identity.
Yeah.
And know who I was.
Right.
Because what you just described, that shift happened for me. I went from wild rice to white rice.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
But you had enough of that foundation built already that it was you could continue building on top of it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I noticed that shift. I noticed it as a 12-year-old, as a 13-year-old. I went, there's something here and I don't love it. And then I was able to do something about it at 18. But when you're describing that, that's where I really, I'm like, okay, that shift happened for me at a much younger kind of pivotal age.
Yeah, mine didn't happen until I was in my mid-30s.
Yeah, but and we grew up obviously so different, but had a shift. So it's so interesting. Anyway, keep going. So the sex of it all, you were going to say.
Yeah, so the sex of it all, I mean, for this entire season up until now, all of the conversations that we have been having have very much so shown me where I have been lacking in my own curiosity as to my understanding of what sex is, how it presents, all of the different aspects of sex. And so that has been very interesting for me because of the fact that I was born into a family structure where you don't talk about sex. You don't think about it. You don't learn about it. It doesn't exist. It does not exist because you are quote unquote too young. Even though up until probably, I don't know, up now, still have not had a sex conversation with my family. And so it's one of those things where it's like, I didn't know what I didn't know because I wasn't allowed to be curious about what it was. It was abstinence only. You don't talk about it. You don't think about it. You don't learn about it. It doesn't exist. And so now,
and as an asexual person, it's also really easy to just go along with that.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, that's another thing where it's like, I remember being in school and then doing the abstinence only thing and being like, yeah, it's not that hard.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't get why everybody's like,
right.
Why is it so hard for you guys to just like not? Like, that's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, no, sorry.
It's true, though. It's true.
And then you add the ADHD on top of it where it's like out of sight, out of mind. So you don't ever talk about it. You don't ever think about it. And then the asexualness is just like, I don't need it. And you're just like, okay, so it doesn't exist. Cool. Got that. Done. And so now to have these conversations where it's like, oh, no, this is something that's at the forefront of my mind all of the time because of the conversations that I'm having with Jess on a regular basis. It's like, what don't I know? What don't I understand? What haven't I learned about? What are the things that when someone says, what does sex mean to you? I'm like, Kit.exe has crashed. Hold please while I reset. So it's like, those are the conversations where I have to get very curious with my own understanding of what I have learned to be like, what does sex mean to me? What are the different aspects of sex that I am curious about? And will I let myself explore them to be like, I didn't even know that was an option. Hold please while I go do some research.
Christina, you brought up kink stuff, and we re-interviewed one of my friends who's pretty involved in pony world. And so
wow. Okay.
there's a lot in that conversation that made us kind of go, oh, maybe there's, like, for me, perfectionism that's kind of keeping me from trying certain things that might be good for my brain, might be good for me to like let go of the be the best at anything you put your hands on kind of mentality. It's okay to be a little bit messy and not good at something and try something out and see if it's helpful. And I know Kit was also like kind of, I actually wouldn't be surprised if Kit would try certain things in that sphere faster than I would, you know?
In the realm of the research.
Yeah, in the realm of the research.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just it's because of the difference in way that we process. But yeah, we also had a conversation with this hasn't come out yet, but a friend, Alan, who's also ace, but does D&D and like kind of used a similar way of thinking to practice some like sexual things with their partner who they had been with for 4 years and hadn't had sexual attraction with until like 4 years in. And it was just really cool to like hear about the way in which their brain worked. And I was like, oh, like that's so interesting to think of it as just that's how your role playing works in your head. You're practicing sex in a role play headspace. Period. Like it's not a desire you actually have, but it's something that you're wanting to explore kind of in a research way, kind of in a play way. This is just for fun. We're just playing. And I'm like, oh, like it's it's so different for me, but it's so helpful to understand and see if maybe that could be helpful for me to learn how to play. Because I've been going on a whole journey the last couple of years about rest, and play is a part of rest. And learning how to really get good rest. And I think part of my struggle is that I choose things that I'm already good at, and then those become jobs of mine.
Yeah,
and
that is a very common struggle for sure. Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, but why can't I go to I often use this as an analogy, paint and wine night, like when people do the like they all go out to a thing and then they're all painting the same thing. I don't do it because I can't paint to save the life of me. And I'm like, well, why? Why do I have to be good at painting to have a fun night of painting? It's so, it feels silly to me, but it's just true. And so it's like, okay, well, why can't I need to get better at play? Like if I can think about it that way, I need to get better at just letting myself play at something that I might not be good at. And I don't know, that could help me in the sex realm,
For sure.
Like,
yeah.
I think it would absolutely, if I'm being honest, I think it would absolutely help me, because like the way that I relate to what Kit is saying is this, like, well, this is the way I've always done it. You know what I mean? This is it's just not on my mind. It's just not here. It's like, whatever. This is the way that I engage with this subject or not engage. And so hearing all these different experiences now, Kit actually is engaged way more in this conversation with us than they have been in many of the other conversations because, partially because they haven't really known the other people and they like know you and love you, but they've also just been processing a lot.
Yeah.
And then we had this like actual get together in Minneapolis where we got to like just process all of the things that they're processing. So it's really cool to hear them expressing all of this right now on one of our actual podcast episodes. That's not just the two of us, because I think, one of the key things that we did was do an interview with each other about where we were with sex in the beginning. I'm just so excited about how much this has broadened our challenges for ourselves, our own ways of seeing the world. And it's not just education. Like I think we both are doing, and I think the people that we talk to are going out and challenging themselves and doing new things and trying to discover more about themselves in the process.
For sure.
Which is the perfect segue. Way to go, Jess. So what I had said at the beginning, where Cristina had made a comment about something that I know for a fact she does not remember commenting on, especially because I was
going to ask. We're over an hour in. Have we addressed the question that you were originally going to ask? Please do. Please.
We have not, but that's okay because we're about to do it. So after Cristina and I had stopped recording and we were still just chatting, you had said something, and you're like, you had a lot to say about the overlap between the ACE kink space, where a lot of people who are asexual find themselves in kink spaces. And what you had said was, for some reason, I mean, I know the reason, but what is that reason, Cristina? Why is there so much overlap that you see between people who are asexual and the kink space? We had talked about this a little bit in Killian's episode. And
we talked about it in Alan's episode as well.
We did, yes. And so now, because you had said that, and I also want to hear your thoughts about that. So, floor is yours.
Absolutely. So very simplistically, the reason that I perceive as that being true, and this is coming from my lived experience, but also from like just learning about other people who are much deeper into that community than I am and participate in those behaviors much more frequently than I do, which is like none, almost, basically. But I like learning about other people's experiences. And what I have come to find very simplistically is that for often allosexual people, which is everybody who experiences a form of sexual attraction to another person. For allosexual people, there is a very simple formula to get your rocks off. Like you can like add a bunch of things to it that will make the experience different and better in a lot of ways. But like basically there is a switch you can flip and then that will do it. But when it comes to a sexual experience where that sexual attraction does not necessarily exist, that formula, those behaviors do not work necessarily, you gotta make it more interesting somehow. Like you gotta put something else in there that's gonna spice it up. Because often asexual people, in my experience, and I'm sure that you can chime in with your own experiences, are more stimulated by certain like either visuals or dynamics or behaviors that are more about like an emotional dynamic or are more about like a sensual sensation where it's a very much more like in your head kind of experience. There is obviously like, not to say that like, you know, the good old manual stimulation of genitalia can't get you somewhere, because it absolutely can. But if you're going to engage in this with somebody else, usually the more fulfilling part of it is internal. It's like, what's going on in my head that's making this difference than me just masturbating? And often that comes in the kink realm, where the kink realm is so much of like a more internal intellectual, not necessarily intellectual, like in the sense of like academic, but intellectual.
I'll say I don't know any dumb
like,
people in kink. I don't know any dumb people in kink.
But
any of my friends who are kinky are smart as hell.
It comes because there's an intellectual stimulation. There is a mental stimulation.
Yes.
That is a required part of that, where this paraphilia, whatever it is doing something for you beyond the physical. It's doing something for you beyond the base, like manual stimulation of erogenous zones, to be very clinical about it.
Yep.
And so there's a lot to be said about how like there's a lot of the kink community that enjoys, or the asexual kink community, I should say, that enjoys kink play because of this sensual stimulation, where it's like the sensation I am getting here feels good. It isn't actually necessarily sexually exciting, but I still like how this feels. And so I'm going to participate in that. Or there is a lot to be said about things that are like more about dominance and submission play, because it's like, I actually really I am excited by this dynamic where I have a level of control over my partner, or my partner has a level of control over me. And that makes me feel a kind of way that I find mentally very exciting. And then there's a lot of like, you know, talking about, there's so many different variations and people who get into weird stuff. There's also a very common refrain, because of like, you know, asexual people, what we find interesting, exciting, stimulating is often very removed from the physical. That there is a common refrain online, at least in the spaces where I'm often online, where people talk about how asexual people are in fact the biggest freaks.
Yes.
Or it's like, you are in fact like some of the biggest freaks I know do not find anybody sexually attractive. And so they got to get their rocks off some other way. There was this is to pull back a curtain, a personal curtain of mine, to talk about my lived experience often. I have a other podcast. It's on hiatus currently, that I do with my good friend, where we review romance novels. We review like paranormal romance novels, especially, which often are diving into the realms of sex. And so I have like from a critic's standpoint, a lot of opinions about how that's portrayed. And during the pandemic, it came up amongst my friend group about like people who are bad at writing sex. And I think somebody made a throwaway comment about like, I feel like I could do a lot better than this. Like I could write sex a lot better than whatever this is. And that became a thing that my friends decided we were going to do a challenge with. And this is a real thing that me and my friends did, where we had a word limit. We were given, we had a wheel with a bunch of like kinks on it that we spun to pick a couple. And we had a prompt and a setting where it's like, okay, you need to, we literally was like, you need to write a sci-fi. It needs to be under 1,500 words, but it has to be more than like some threshold. And it has to include these elements in it. Let's see who does it the best.
Please tell me these got published. Please tell me these got published.
They did not. No, I'm proud of mine, because the feedback that I got from mine, we didn't collaborate. We didn't talk to each other. What we did, which was the most elevating in the sense of like, I transcended out of my body in a good and bad way experience, where my dear sweet friend, we all hopped into a Discord call, and he like with never having read these stories before, read them aloud to everyone else while we were all on mute.
That's
so we could
amazing.
Not like, so we couldn't comment out loud. We couldn't like, none of our reactions could bias him or interrupt him, but he just like read everybody's story out loud to us all at the same time.
How long did that take?
It took a couple of hours, because I knew I went a little bit hard with it. I was pushing that 15,000 word limit a little bit.
Damn.
Okay, yeah. Because I started getting into world building, and then I had to back myself off. They said that we were doing a sci-fi, so I started talking about alien biology. And I'm like, I need to back off here. I can't.
You should have just
this is
let
not the
yours
focus.
Go
become
back to
like
the smut. Go back to the smut. Don't stop
You
world
just-
building and just go back to the smut.
you could have written
Stop
a
talking
novel.
about how the biologically is changed by different gravity. No one cares about that right now, and I do. I care about it.
My wife would probably love that one. She
And so, but the
needs
feedback-
she wants a novel, but she also wants a novella, right? So like,
Yeah, for sure. But the feedback I got was from everybody being like, that was a lot more than I expected. Like everybody being like, we gave like the people, we had judges, and the judges gave out like bespoke awards to everyone.
Oh yeah.
And the one I got was the Make Me Blush award, because apparently I just like overwhelmed other people, and I'm like, oh, I didn't think that this was that intense, but apparently my perception is skewed.
That's amazing. Like I mean, Jess, you're going to cut this because this is just us talking right now. But that was kind of how I felt when I wrote the Tori Martha crossover, the Fade to Black. That was very much so how I felt.
Kit is in a Discord that I manage, and they did, it was a couple years ago.
It was
that them and another friend decided that they were going to start going back and forth and write a smut something, and it was just them kind of, one person wrote a sentence, the other person wrote a sentence, they wrote a sentence, they went back and forth, and I was just like, I can't read this, like this shit's wild, like this is wow.
And the thing is, like, bringing that up, like, I legitimately forgot that we had done this. Me and our mutual friend had done this because it was on a whim. It was just a random day. And it got to the point where, like, it started off as like a goof where we were just kind of going back and forth, a sentence after a sentence.
And we were doing it in the After Dark channel. So
yeah, we were.
Acceptable.
So it was very much so on brand with the channel that we were in. And we just kept going back and forth. And then it just kept going, because every time I would write something, they would one-up it, and then I would have to one-up that, and then they would one-up it, and it just kept elevating to the point where everyone was just like, you two need to stop, because if you keep going, we are going to go and have to do things.
We can't handle this.
This is impressive. Because it was both vague enough where you could like imagine it, but it was also explicit enough where you're like, oh, I'm feeling things.
Oh,
we weren't,
speaking about
because
the
it was
aphantasia also. One of the feedbacks I got with the reason my writing was more effective is because I was being very more explicit with my imagery, because I need to define what's happening because I can't see it. Right. And so apparently that was also, like the vagary versus explicitness is for sure like a part of it. Yeah.
You know what? That's so interesting, because like I'm gonna have to look into that more, because I feel like I'm definitely someone who can, as a filmmaker or something, like, and as a songwriter, like there are ways in which I can definitely envision things, but there are sometimes people who explain how they're envisioning the world, and I'm like, wow, you can go there. That's really cool. Because I can't always do that. It takes a lot of effort to get there. And I also, when it comes to like instructions or someone explaining something, I'm always asking specifics, because I need those details. And I often call it context. Because to me, that is contextualizing the situation. I'm not going to,
it's informing it for sure.
Yeah, I'm not going to assume. I don't want to assume anything about what you're telling me. I want you to just give me all the details up front, So that makes so much sense to me.
Getting back to sort of what Kit was saying just now, like what they said really gave me this thought, which also wraps into what you said, Jess, about the idea of what is the point of these exercises? Like us as asexual people who are not actually like necessarily getting off on these experiences. Like I wrote 15,000 words of sci-fi smut, but I didn't get off on that. It was, what was the point of this experience? And the point for me was that it was a form of fun. I was mentally being challenged and stimulated to express these things in what I thought was an attractive, relatable way, where it's like, this is why this experience this person is having affects them so deeply in my writing. And that is a challenge for me that I am finding enjoyable. I'm finding fun. And like engaging in this is like a game. It's like I also am a big, huge D&D nerd. And it's like, it's a similar level. Like I'm not getting off on doing this as much as I'm not getting off on playing D&D. But both are a very fun challenge for me in very different ways. And so I think that that is also like a big draw for people in the asexual community to go towards kink is because it is a form of play, like you were saying. It's a form of having fun, where it's like, I view this as a very, like, it can be serious, it can be lighthearted, but it is fun. It is engaging. It is challenging. I am feeling, like, drawn in by this and engaged by this. I think I said engaged twice, but you know what I mean.
Do you enjoy the aspect of it, the fact that you know it will turn on your allo friends? Like, do you know, like, is that fun to you? Does that accomplish a goal?
There is a fun for me in the sense of like the idea of flustering some people does make me like the idea of making people like it's literally, it's a schadenfreude, where it's like the idea that I have made you uncomfortable, but not in a displeasing way. Because there is a way to feel uncomfortable without being upset.
Totally.
And that is like the fluster, like the, oh goodness, I'm overwhelmed kind of way. I think that's funny.
That is Erica's favorite thing to do to me. Of all the things.
It is harmless and it is funny to me.
Things.
And so like when we're talking again about like D&D and the podcast I'm doing, I've talked before about my experience with the character I play, where I played a kind of hypersexual character where it's like I made him kind of a slut. I know. And that's funny to me. I mean, listen, he's recently monogamous.
That's a forced situation.
But it's funny to me to do that, and it is funny to me to like, it feels safe for me to explore those behaviors in a way that doesn't, I'm not directing at me as a person. It's not being pointed at me, but I can express these kind of like, I can explore that. I can express these behaviors through the medium of this guy, this little character I made up, who's running around wanting to flirt with all the hot bar maidens or whatever.
And
also all the bar gnomes. Men.
I feel like I relate to that in the sense that like some people perceive my playful, flirty friend energy as being an actual like attempt at flirting with them, and I so often have to be like, no. Like that is not at all what's going on here. I just enjoy that making people blush a little bit. I enjoy making people feel good about themselves. I enjoy making people laugh. I like to playfully flirt with people, but I've had to like, because especially now that I'm more mask presenting, and not just mask presenting. When I was butch, it was like the safest place to be. I could flirt with boys and they were complimented. I could flirt with girls and straight girls and they were complimented. It was not seen as sexual, but the minute that I was presenting with a beard, it changed everything. And all of a sudden people's own experience of either men or their discomfort with transness made it sexual. Everything
they're
about
projecting an assumption onto your motivation.
Yes. And it was like all of a sudden I had to try to explain what you're explaining, which is like, no, this is me just being me. Like, this isn't me trying to start anything with you in any way, shape, or form. If I was trying to start something with you, you would know it. And that's the best way I know how to say that. Is like, I'm a clear communicator. You can ask any of the people that I've been with, sexually or sexually attracted to. You can ask them and they would tell you right away. Yes, we had a conversation very early on that this is to be clarifying. You know, and so but this is me kind of talking about my own trauma a little bit, because it's been a tough couple of years trying to like, get through certain spaces and realize that even in queer affirming trans spaces, that perception can still happen.
Oh, for sure.
And it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because often people who have done, who might identify as leftist or liberal or whatever, they think they've done all the work. And so then they also assume the work that needs to be done is your work, not continuing to deconstruct the way you see the world, or the way that you treat others, or the way that you see others acting. And so that's why I'm a huge fan of just asking for details, asking for context, because you can't assume that
Yeah.
because like I was giving the example when Kit and I were just kind of chatting on Thursday about you, that like if someone were just watching that interview like I was while I was editing it, a lot of people would say, get a room, because there was this adorable, amazing, flirty chemistry, and it wasn't sexual, but all the other aspects were there, right? Like you've got two attractive, cute humans who are having a great conversation, and they're really engaged with each other, and they're having an amazing time, and there is flirting, and there is playfulness, and there is all of these things, and yet they're both ace and not wanting to engage in a sexual relationship. And it's like, if
I'm
anyone
also
else,
aromantic, to like drive it even further home.
even
where it's
further,
like,
aromantic. Yeah,
I will be flirty with people just because of the pure joy of it, and it's like
Yes.
I want nothing out of this but for the love of the game.
exactly.
Which is why I love that conversation. It was literally my favorite of the entire season, because I was like, again, with this one, most of the time when I am in a conversation, I have my notebook and a pen ready to go, because I like jotting random things down so that I remember them for later. I haven't even looked at it.
You haven't?
Because
No, it's been great.
I am just so entranced by this conversation with two people that I find incredibly attractive.
Well, and Cristina said a really valuable thing, which was that you feel safe.
Yes.
Right? This idea of feeling safe to be all of who you are, to flirt, to do all the things, and just for the love of the game, as she said, like this idea, like one of the things that I'm so proud of in my relationship with both my wives, but specifically with Erica, was like that she was able to get to a comfort level of not feeling like she owed me something sexually, and that, so now she can make me blush all she wants and not carry through with anything, and she's not in trouble, or she doesn't feel guilty, and it's not, and most of that was her feelings on herself, not things that I was making her feel. Right. And I love that. I love that she can just do those things and not feel any sort of pressure, because like oh my God, I've never had someone who could make me blush as hard as she makes me blush. That's her favorite thing to do, is to just like be using cheesy flirting lines. And I'm just like, stop. Stop. I
mean, like, that phrase sort of set off handily, but I do think that it encapsulates the whole discussion of like, why is it that asexual people are so drawn to these spaces? And it's just for the love of the game. It's just, like, it doesn't matter what you're getting out of it, because there is like the basic, what we think of like, most cookie cutter human sexuality of like a heteronormative couple. And anything on top of that, anything that you're adding, any dynamic changes, any accessories, any whatever, is for fun or for relaxation or for stimulation or for satisfaction in some other way. And those things are still fun or satisfactory or exciting, even outside of the context of sex. Like you don't need to be having sex for those things to still be fun for you. And it's for the love of the game. Just for the love of the game.
I love that. That's our title. That's our title right there.
Oh, okay.
I will write that down. Write that down. You write that down right now, Kit. Don't get excited.
But talking about the safety of it all is like, it's really important to, and communication does a huge thing on that. It's really important where you to feel like you can express your wants or needs or desires in a way that it's congruent with what the other person or people in the equation also want. Like, there's a mutual understanding. I feel like I am safe to play a kind of flirty character in D&D because all of my friends know that it's not me doing
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
also, they won't turn around and be like, oh, you were flirting with me, so I'm going to flirt with you. It's like, no. Our characters were flirting. That is a different thing.
Yeah. That makes complete sense. I mean, and of course I'm relating it back to my scenario, but yeah, I that's safety, man. That God,
Super important.
I want more community that feels like that. Like more people that can communicate clearly with each other or check in. Because like, yeah, when we didn't have Jana as a part of the dynamic, it was less safe in the sense that like my feelings could be at risk. Like she couldn't be as playful all the time because it was like it felt hard for me, difficult because I'm desiring her or I'm not desiring it all because I've turned off that switch because I don't trust that switch anymore. Yeah. And both things are not good. Both solutions are not good solutions, And so having what I like to say is the third leg of the table, because that creates a much more balanced scenario. It that allowed us all to feel more safe. To be more true to ourselves. But even beyond that, friend groups, being able to do that in D&D, like having people, it's hard when a friend that was safe becomes like less safe to do that with. But that's where communication is essential. Because if you can communicate, I don't know that I can be playful like this right now. I don't know if I can handle that sort of play. I just went through a breakup, or I lost a job, or life is too stressful. Whatever the thing is, I'm feeling unbalanced. Okay, good. I'm so glad to hear that. Or touch isn't safe. Someone who you're touchy-feely with, and then suddenly they're like, actually, I can't be touched by anyone but my partner. I'm cool. That sounds good. Just keep me in the loop, But so many people, the hardest thing about stress is that sometimes the first thing to go is communication.
Yeah.
And that's when we hurt each other.
You can't express things because it feels unsafe to speak, in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Kit, you were going to say something?
I was? You were.
You raised your hand like you were going to.
You put a pin in it. You were like.
You put a finger up.
Oh.
I'm watching the 1,000-yard stare of trying to remember.
Yes. Shit. Oh, fuck. What was I thinking?
This is why you have the notepad. This is what the notepad's for. We should have been taking notes.
Oh, damn it. What?
We're talking about
when this happens.
It had the only thing that I can remember is that something to do with Tori. That's the only thing that I could remember. So I was going to say something about Tori.
D&D.
I was like, what was I going to say?
That's okay. I got it.
Flirty
little guy.
Yes, flirty little guy. When you were talking about how you were able to be really safe playing D&D with the girls, and how that you can be the flirty little ridiculous slut of a man that you have created, knowing full well that they know that that's not you.
Yes.
What I was going to comment on was the fact that now that you guys are starting your third season, if you haven't listened to I Seduce The Dragon, please, for the love of God, go do yourself a favor and go listen to that podcast, because it is an absolute delight of 5 gorgeous women who get together and play pretend with each other to a quality that I have yet to find matched. So there's that.
But sweet. Thank you.
One of the things that I have noticed in your guys' evolution of growing together as characters is the fact that you have come in as this veteran character who has been playing since out of the womb, because you've been playing since you were a teenager, basically. And the other 3 people that you play with, well, and even Jess as the DM, the comfort level that they have with their own characters, whereas obviously with season 1 you guys were still kind of figuring out not only the podcast thing but also now being higher level characters having to deal with all of these other things. There's an absolute comfort that you have because you have played for so long versus the other 3 who haven't. So their self-projection onto their characters is very much so apparent, whereas you get to legitimately just puppeteer your tiny little guy and be like, I get to do all of the things and make him an absolute menace to society because I can. And it's very interesting to see the dynamics shift as you guys have played further and further together, and then just the growth of them as individual characters and players, where one thing that I have noticed is in the later episodes of season 2, and I'm going to guess in the beginning parts of season 3, you can tell that Flanders and Dana and Ryan have started to do less self-projection onto their characters and legitimately started to let their characters be themselves. Like Gentry is actually becoming Gentry. Martha is actually becoming Martha. Erastus is actually becoming Erastus. Whereas in the beginning parts, you could see that the three of them had just kind of copy-pasted themselves onto these characters and were like, I am playing this person who just happens to be me in a slightly more elevated, a higher dynamic situation where I can be a slightly more obnoxious version of myself with no repercussions. And so that's been very interesting to see, just not only the dynamic shifts, but also just the character growth of them as players versus them as characters. And it's been very, very fun for me. And so when you were commenting about how you're able to not project anything onto this character, but literally just use him as a sociological study for connecting with other people through the
as a vehicle to explore certain things and
absolutely, especially because he is the absolute worst person that you know, and you stand on that proudly. You're 10 toes down. He's the worst. He is the absolute worst, and I created him to be the absolute worst. And I love it because you get this person, and that's a testament to you as a player and just as a person who understands that when you come into a situation, you do not have to project anything. You can be just a character, and it's just a mask that you put on, and then when you're done with it, you take it off and you put it to the side. Yes, you can take lessons that you have learned through those interactions, because obviously when you're dealing with D&D, most of the time you are dealing with conflict in some way, shape, or form. It might be a tiny little conflict. It might be trying to kill a god. Either way, it's a conflict to some degree. There's always going to be a level of friction when you're dealing with these hypothetical life and death situations. It's in those situations where you start to really understand how you approach it. And so a lot of times what I have noticed is you specifically will be like, I will be doing this, but I know for a fact that you are talking as Tori when you say, I will be doing this.
Right.
Instead of saying, I, Cristina, am going to be playing this as Tori. It's no. I am currently embodying Tori as a character. I know how he thinks. I know how he's going to react in this situation. Therefore, I am going to play as him. But as soon as the recording's done, you're like, mask, done. I'm just going to hang that up until I decide to pick it up again and play him again. And that is to the kink of it all. I have a feeling, because I haven't done nearly enough research, but this is just me off the cuff riffing about what I have observed up until now. The kink of it all is that a lot of times asexual people will do just that. They will find their kink and they will take it as a mask and be like, hey, I get to be this person right now. I get to go and play as this version of me, this character that I have created, that I can experience life in this specific instance as this particular version of myself. Because it's a version of you. You are still the one that is embodying this character, even though it's not you, and you do not think or feel or observe any type of way in the real world, in your real life. In this moment, this is you. And so you can put that mask on and be like, I am going to play as this me for right now. And then as soon as that as soon as that moment is over, as soon as that interaction is done, you can just take it off and hang it up and be like, we'll come back to that eventually.
Hey, listeners of Queer Consciousness. Clearly, you have excellent taste. So we wanted to introduce ourselves. My name is Elise, they, them.
I'm Carrie, she, they, and together we created our podcast Proudly on Record to give a platform to queer stories as an act of resistance.
We would love to invite you to join our conversations with queer folks exploring the long-term effects of religious trauma, journeys of deconstruction, and the joy that comes from living life as your true, authentic self.
Lately, we've spoken with conversion therapy survivors, explored the sapphic drag queen scene, asked ex-Mormons how they survived without caffeine, and interrogated mental health experts on why. Just why?
So, if you've ever felt entitled to monetary compensation due to your religious trauma, or have ever wanted to waltz with potatoes up and down the produce aisle, have we got a show for you?
You can find Proudly on Record on all streaming platforms.
Now, back to our favorite theys, Jess and Kit.
Welcome, ladybugs and jellybeans, reptiles and crocodiles, to patreon.com/queerconsciousness race today. We have a wonderful field of horses that are all set up and ready to go. And they're off. In the lead is the community tier. This tier is eating up the track as it goes, giving you things like access to Kit's blogs, as well as a Patreon-exclusive conversation. It helps the podcast pay for things like the podcast feed and the recording setup. But close behind it is the producer tier. This tier pays Jess for all of their hard work on making this podcast sound as great as it is, as well as the video editing for YouTube. As they make a way down the backstretch, if you sign up at this tier, you'll get a shout-out at the end of the episode. They are rounding the last turn and coming down the home stretch. Making a break for it is the patron tier. They are closing the gap. This tier is the one that will help the podcast be able to give back to the queer community. And it is a three-way tie as they dive across the finish line. Thank you, ladybugs and jellybeans, reptiles and crocodiles, for coming to patreon.com/queerconsciousness race today. We hope you enjoy, and good luck to all the competitors.
I was literally going to say that it is a form of play. Like, when we're talking, there's a lot of parallels. Again, a deeply nerding thing to say that there's so many parallels between D&D and sex. But it is a truth, universally acknowledged if you've ever been to any gaming convention. Anyway, so there is...
I heard about this.
I get to go to Gen Con this year, and I am so excited. I am so excited for Gen Con this year. You have no idea.
Which is also, it's so sweet that a lot of these, like, if you go to Gen Con, I think you'll have a very fun time of it. It is so... like either overtly queer or very queer positive. Like, I have seen so many people who like are talking about like queer, trans, whatever allies that they are or are themselves any permutation of the LGBTQ blah 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 blah. Because D&D is a great way to explore that. It is a form of play. It is very much like you said, it is a framework where you can pretend to be a different person, or you can act in a way that is different from what you perceive as yourself. And that is the same thing with kink. It's the same thing with a bunch of experiences we have in life, where here is a space, here is a defined space where there is a framework built in for you to safely experience things or behave in ways that are different from your otherwise perception of yourself. And maybe that perception is very close. Maybe it's very far away. Maybe those are very like different and distinct realms of your life, but they can overlap. They can be the same thing. But the difference is you can perform or experience or react in whatever way you want in this enclosed space in a way that doesn't break the foundation of how you view yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because it's separate from your day-to-day going about as a person. And that is a very fulfilling thing. And it is a very engaging and fun thing. It is fun to be somebody else for a little bit because, yeah, you do learn stuff about yourself. You can surprise yourself in ways where it's like, oh, I'm going to do this. I kind of liked doing that, actually. Maybe I like this thing more than I thought it would be, even when it's something like, it can be something incredibly like silly and wholesome, or it can be something that is more like vulnerable or intimate or sexual. Like, all of these things are types of play, which is so fundamental for us discovering ourselves, because it allows for curiosity, it allows for being wrong, it allows for not being perfect. Sort of like to touch bases on everything that we've talked about. You have to allow for the imperfectness of it and the exploration, which is what fundamentally like developing as a child and playing and role playing, and then as an adult having more and more rigid and complicated ways where we allow ourselves to play games. Like, we have to have rules and times and schedules to do all of this. We make more rigid systems, but it's because we are more rigid in our perception of self. So we need to have more care with how we are investigating that and how we are going deep into how we view the world and ourselves in order to explore those things without doing damage to them. If that makes sense. I went on to like a whole thing just now, and I hope that my metaphor landed at the end.
No, it did. It absolutely did. That plane was smooth. Sick.
Yeah, that felt really good, and it felt like something I needed to hear. Like I almost wanted to say preach, because like I just I don't know. It felt like a good challenge. Like it was a reminder of why I need to engage in this kind of play sometime soon. Because I went to a murder mystery party for New Year's, and I was it was all evil characters, and I was Gaston.
Hell yeah,
And
love that.
and I was really excited to be dressed up as Gaston and like to do up the character. But then I was like, why am I so bad at this? Like I can't put on the character, and I don't know that I can engage as the character with people. And I want to do that. I want to be able to do that. But this fear of not doing it right was what was really driving it. And
We need to get you to do a one shot.
I will say, as a veteran role player of the D&D space, it is so much easier to start out with a character that is similar to yourself, because it's a muscle. You have to build up the tolerance and the ability to sustain behaviors that are different from your usual behaviors. It's like starting with someone who's similar to you and then working out from there is
that makes
so
a lot
much
of
easier
sense.
than like hard jumping into somebody who acts nothing like you, because that's so unsustainable for like a prolonged period of time. You can do it like you can make a joke like you're a mean person, but then if you have to keep acting mean for like several hours, it's like,
hard.
God, this is exhausting. I don't know how to do this.
And I used to just respect actors for that. Like as someone who was behind the camera, I always respected actors and could like guide actors, and would rather work with people who are closer to the character that I was trying to get on screen. But the people, the Stanley Tucci's of them all, like Stanley Tucci has done like insane characters, such vastly different characters, and I just think like that skill is incredible. That is an incredible talent.
It's a lot of practice. Yeah,
it's a lot of practice.
A lot of practice.
And I'm sure that he started with people like you just said that were more closely aligned with who he is, and then was able to kind of become this incredible character actor that can put on a mask and embody someone. I mean, I have that experience from a music perspective. I mean, like I can pick up a song like no one's business, like so quickly, and I can change my tone. I can change the direction we're going, but I'm practiced in that. I'm fully practiced in that. And so if I can think about it that way as something I need to practice to get to, I think that's super helpful. So I appreciate that. And if it's helpful for me, then it's got to be helpful for a lot of other people who are listening.
Yeah, I hope so.
For sure,
if I can go on another complete total tangent and talk about my birthday party last year,
please,
because you mentioned a murder mystery. I decided for my birthday party that I told everyone, I invited all my friends to, because my birthday's Halloween.
Oh,
and
fun.
So
speaking of birthdays, I want to know what your birth time is so that I can look up your birth chart, because I am.
Oh yes, I actually was talking to my mom about that recently.
Curious,
because it turns out my mom is also very into astrology, and I did not know this about her. And I'm like, how have I never known this about you? Anyway,
as
for my
another
birthday,
similarity, side note, Erica was born on the 27th.
Oh,
so listen, just a couple of days difference.
Random.
It's a good time of year.
Halloween Scorpios that I'm just sitting here going, why the freaking heck am I so attracted to Scorpios?
Halloween you gotta Scorpios,
type.
Man.
But because my birthday's Halloween, very often it's so easy for me to be like, I am doing a themed birthday, and all of you have to dress up, and everyone just goes with it. And my theme, I told everyone this last year, was that I was having a priest party. You had to show up dressed as your favorite fictional priest. You have to tell me what it is in advance so I know we don't have overlap, but preferably it is like a fictional Christian priest of some kind.
Mine would be from the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Accurate.
Yeah, I that was one of the examples I gave. One of my friends was the bishop from Les Mis.
Nice.
There were a number of people who were like priests from anime, including myself.
Hell yeah.
Jess Parks rolled up as the nun from The Nun 2 specifically. There was her partner showed up as the Spanish Inquisition, like the Monty Python. No one expects a Spanish Inquisition.
Yes,
it was.
I love Sean.
Very good. It was very good. So what happened is I brought everyone in with the like, we're just dressing up silly, haha. And then at a certain point, because as for vibes, I had Gregorian chant EDM playing
Yes.
on the TV, of
Oh
course.
my God.
And at a certain point, I locked my doors. A breaking news bulletin came on the TV. It was me in a wig saying the Pope had died. Everyone in the room was being elevated to the role of cardinal, and we
Oh
were
my
having a
God.
conclave to elect the new Pope. And then the real me
I
came
loved
out
that
with
movie.
sashes, and I put it on everyone. It was so good. And I basically forced my friends to role play as the characters they chose to dress up as. And you could
That's
tell
fantastic.
the people who were like, I know how to do this and I will commit immediately. And you could tell the people who were like, I was not expecting this and this character is nothing like me and I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
And I
That
will
would be
say
me.
the one who embodied it hardest did get voted Pope. She is Pope now for the next year until
Was that
I have
Chelsea?
another conclave party. No, Chelsea. Who did Chelsea show up as? She was hypothetical if Leia was a Jedi because I said Jedi count as priests. She showed up.
I should have known. I just straight up should have known.
You should have guessed. No, it was my roommate Bitter who was Wolfwood from Trigun. If you guys know that anime, it's one of her favorite characters. She loves that character so much, and so she was like, "I'm gonna be Pope Wolfwood, and if it kills me," and she was.
From the very little bit that I have been introduced to, Christina, because of your guys' conversations on your podcast, that absolutely tracks.
Fully tracks. The second almost Pope was Jess as Nun from Nun 2. She
Which also tracks.
went really hard on her platform of maybe we should let demons possess kids sometimes. And it was very persuasive to a lot of the audience. A lot of the audience was like, she's making a lot of good points.
Which is
Maybe
hilarious.
we
Like,
should have let demons
knowing
possess
Jess
kids
as
sometimes.
knowing Jess as well as I do, I can absolutely see her storming the paint on that one and just posting up and being like,
for
"This
sure.
is what I am doing, and I'm going to convince all of you that this is correct." And I would have been like, and
it was just so fun as a thing where it was like everybody was out of their shell. No one was expecting it with the exception of, again, Bitter because she lives with me and she was part of me. We had to go buy party supplies, so she knew it was up.
Right.
But like everybody else was not really expecting it. They didn't come into this setting aware of what was going to happen. I immediately put them out of themselves and they had to embody this character. And some people took to it a lot faster than others, but everyone had like a really good time, especially when as the night went on and it was stopping about like them arguing their point and more about them reacting to other people arguing their point, where they could be like, yeah, I do vote for the nun too. I do think you should be Pope. And it was just silly and lighthearted and fun. And I think that those opportunities to like be something other than yourself and explore things other than yourself are so valuable.
Yeah.
And also that everyone should have a conclave party because I thought it was really fun.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I want to come to this party next time.
Hell
I could either wear rando stranger that you met in a podcast that
You gotta
that
start
comes to
thinking
the
now.
party.
If I gotta think of a priest to be
That's what I
or a
told
nun.
you. I know exactly what I'm gonna be because I can sing it. So
Very good.
I'm doing the
Is it Frollo is his name?
yes.
From How to Track and Nurture Dawn? Perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent. Count Frollo.
I was like,
Yes.
I know who I would be, but
Who's that?
You're so far away.
who
would you be?
Well, are you kidding me? I would fly into town for that. Hell yes, I would. I would burn up so much vacation if I had to do that.
Who would you be? Who's the priest that you would be?
I
Knowing that you had to argue to be Pope.
I would be the cardinal from the Musketeers on the BBC. The first
Very
season
good.
of the Musketeers from the BBC.
Oh my God.
Very
I
good.
actually can envision like I was a kid when I saw that, but yeah. Wow. I see it. Yeah.
It's very fun. Play with a purpose.
Play with a purpose. Hell yeah.
Maybe that's the title.
No, for the
I
love
like
of the
For the
game
Love
is
of
going to
the
be the
Game.
title.
For the love of the game.
For the love of the game is going to be the title. Like that's what it is. Like
Yeah.
that is the exact mindset that we have with when you guys decided to name episode 12 Wind in Our Holes, to which Jess
Yeah.
absolutely hated.
Mhm.
Overriding.
Oh
Listen,
God.
for this, if you're getting a bunch of people on the ace spectrum talking about sex, it's for the love of the
Love-
game.
Hell yes.
There's nothing else in it but for the love of the game. Why else would we do it?
Correct. Absolutely.
Why else would we do it?
Why else would we do it?
It's true. It's so very true. But we have been talking for quite the minute.
Yes.
And so to wrap it all up wonderfully, I'm going to go ahead and ask the quote unquote surprise question at the end. And then we're going to go to the Patreon exclusive questions. So, surprise question first, which is, knowing what you know now, having lived the life that you have lived, if you could go back to your 21-year-old self and give her one single piece of advice about sex, what would it be?
21-year-old me. What would I tell 21-year-old me? I don't know. 21-year-old me, I feel like, was still figuring it out. I feel like I would just be like, girl, you're good. Don't worry about it. You've got a formula you're figuring out. Stop trying to involve other people in there right now. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about putting other people in this. Just figure out what you want to do and what you're doing with yourself, and you're good.
Yeah, that's good advice right there.
That is. That's
honestly
fantastic.
for anyone.
Just figure out what you're doing with yourself first, and what you got going on in your brain with it all. I think that's really important. People don't think of your brain as like a central sexual organ, but it very much is. We are a hyper intellectual species, and we will freaking overthink literally everything. So you gotta go in there thinking that your brain's engaged.
100%. Cristina, thank you so much for coming on again and having another wonderful conversation that I am probably going to be thinking about for a while.
I loved it. Thank you so much. It really challenged me. I appreciate it.
It was lovely chatting with you guys too. I really enjoyed it.
This podcast is hosted by me, Kit Sargent, co-hosted and produced by Jess Grace Garcia of Springwood Productions, and the theme music is by Brian Smith of Holy Holy Music Productions. If you could do us a huge favor and please follow, comment, share, do all of the things on all of the socials. You could follow the podcast on Instagram @_queer.consciousness for all the latest episodes as well as any other exciting news. When you're listening on Spotify, please leave a 5-star rating and use the comment box for anything you'd like us to talk about. When you're listening to Apple Podcasts, please leave a comment and a 5-star rating. If you'd like to be on the podcast, send a message to queerconsciousnesspod@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the podcast, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/queerconsciousnesspodcast. We are trying to grow as organically as possible, and this helps other like-minded people who want to empower and encourage others on their journey. So until next time, remember to stand in your truth and know that you are worthy, just as you are. Hey friend, just wanted to take a quick second to remind you that if you or someone you know is struggling and don't know where to turn, the trained volunteers at the LGBT National Hotline are here to help. Because sometimes the strongest thing to do is to ask for help. The National Hotline phone number is 888-843-4564. And if you want to check out the other things that they have available for them to help you with, you can check out the lgbthotline.org in order to be able to see all of the services that they offer in order to help our community.